Mike, check 1 2 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and collectors are now setting their sights on Pokemon cards, and it seems like the hype that was all around video games, the hype that propped up retro game prices and retro game interest, all of that hype has now started to migrate its way over into the Pokemon card arena. And you're probably wondering how I got my hands on these two Pokemon cards. And to be quite honest with you, I don't know if these cards are worth anything. The only reason why I set these two cards aside is because out of all the Pokemon cards that I found, these are the only two that I actually recognize. But I was given a bag of old games and controllers and stuff from a family member who basically knows that I'm into the whole retro collecting scene. And the bag was just filled with a bunch of stuff. And down at the bottom of the bag were boxes of Pokemon cards. I mean, stacks of Pokemon cards. And I've got a whole stack right here. And there's more. Got a whole box of them. And, I saw this and I started chuckling to myself because I was like, so this is what everybody's going crazy over. Now, I'm not sure if they realized that they had what looks like a graded Charizard. I'm no expert in graded Pokemon cards, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that a 7 can't be all that good. I'm assuming most collectors are looking for like an 8 or a 9, 9 plus plus. I mean, 10 would have to mean it's perfectly minty. And then on top of that, I don't know where these Pokemon cards rank in anything. But again, these are the two Pokemon cards that I recognize. Now, I've done a little bit of research into the Pokemon scene. Just looking at, more Pokemon content on YouTube. And one of the things that I recognized right away is that a lot of content creators that make Pokemon card content, they're very similar to the content creators that make retro gaming content. In fact, there's probably triple the amount of retro Ricks and Phoenix resales and Chase After the Right Price. There's probably triple or quadruple the amount of those types of guys in the Pokemon YouTube space as compared to like the retro gaming YouTube space. And it just kind of showed me how much bigger the world of Pokemon is. Now, I have absolute zero interest in getting into collecting any type of Pokemon cards. In fact, I'm probably going to give these away, if not trade them away. If I can sell them, you guys let me know down in the comments if there's any value to them, then I'll just go ahead and sell them and get rid of them. But I have no interest in getting into Pokemon cards just because I cannot do anything with Pokemon cards by myself. I can't battle myself. I can't, with video games, a stack of video games, I can play video games alone and have a good time. Can't do it with Pokemon cards, and for that, I'm getting rid of them. They're just not an investment to me. In any way. Like, I wouldn't invest in these because they don't provide me any fun. But one of the things that I'm seeing as I've gone to look at some of this Pokemon YouTube content is how much more addictive Pokemon card collecting is versus retro game collecting. And I'll explain why. One, Pokemon cards are way more accessible than retro video games. There's only a few number of places that you can go to buy retro video games. Whereas with Pokemon cards, you can buy them at pretty much any game store, whether it be a large chain like GameStop or mom and pop shops. They sell them there. They sell them at most big box retailers, so Walmart, Target. I'm not sure if they started carrying them at Best Buy, but they're way more accessible than retro video games. So that's part one. Part two, they're in way more abundance than retro video games. There are just so many more Pokemon cards that you can buy and you can collect. And what it seems like they're starting to do now is they're starting to kind of limit these releases to give the appearance of some of these packs seeming more limited. but there's still a much larger abundance of Pokemon cards than there are retro video games. But here's the real kicker. Here's the real kicker. I think the dopamine rush that you get from collecting Pokemon cards is completely different from the rush that you get from hunting and collecting video games. Most video game collectors, buyers, resellers, the fun is in the hunt, because if you can go out in the wild and hunt for retro video games and find a really expensive retro game at a really cheap price, that feeling, that dopamine hit is huge, but it doesn't happen often. Most collectors, depending on how consistently you collect, that might happen to you a handful of times per year, right? And most times you're not even sharing those pickups on YouTube or anywhere like that. When it comes to the dopamine hits that Pokemon card collectors look for, they look for it each time they rip open a new pack. So it seems like that seems to be the big thing. It's like, oh, I'm going to rip open a pack of Pokemon cards. I'm going to rip open a pack. And you're ripping open a pack of new Pokemon cards in hopes that you will run into, I'm assuming, a really rare Pokemon card or a really expensive Pokemon card. And the danger in that is that you could become addicted to ripping packs left and right. And next thing you know, you're spending all your money on packs and packs and packs of Pokemon cards, and you're just ripping and ripping and ripping away, hoping that you will find a once in a lifetime, I don't know, Mewtwo. I don't know, is Mewtwo still popular? Is Mewtwo worth anything? Or Mew? I remember those two Pokemon being really rare. Or like, you know, a Blastoise or a Charizard like you see here, or Pikachu. You're hoping that you'll run into one of these really rare cards, and so you wind up spending a lot of money on that. And the same way with the retro gaming community, how you have whatnot auctions and things like that. From what I understand, you have videos where guys rip open packs, and then or like if you pay for a pack and watch the content creator rip it open, you get everything that's in the pack. I don't know, it just seems way more addicting than retro video games, but I guess there's some fun to it and it's got a lot of hype around it. As for me, I'm sticking with retro games. I'm a retro gamer. I've always been a video gamer. Pokemon cards never interested me when I was in middle school or in high school or as a kid. And Pokemon cards are not going to interest me now. I definitely need to have some other tie or connection to what I'm investing in outside of any potential monetary value. That's just the way I work, but you guys let me know. Are you noticing a shift towards Pokemon? Are you seeing that a lot of the hype is moving in that direction? And if so, are you getting on that hype train? I'm interested to know your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.